Welcome to Association Chat, an online discussion where we warm ourselves by the virtual fire with topics of the day, welcoming thought leaders and trailblazers alike to join up in this online home for the community. I'm your host, Kiki L'Italienne, and wow, what a really wild couple of weeks we have had. The past few weeks have brought significant changes for everyone, but associations and nonprofits alike, we are reeling day by day as things change. And so just this month, for example, a coalition of nonprofits filed a lawsuit challenging a federal funding freeze. We have raising concerns about the future of nonprofit funding and operations. We have the U.S. and Canadian bison associates that just issued a warning about potential disruptions in the bison supply chain due to proposed tariffs. I mean, this is stuff, some of this I haven't even thought of before, but all of these things are coming as a result of what's happening in the world around us. We have broader trade policy impacts on industry associations that are happening, and we just can't even keep up with the news. So these are just a couple of examples of this ever-shifting landscape that association leaders must navigate. I mean, we even have the West Virginia Bar Association already facing legal action over the board seat designated for a Black member. So we can't forget about our things coming up with DEI policies within professional associations as a concern that our community feels needs to be addressed. So today, to talk about all of these types of things and dealing with crisis communications in the meantime, right? And like, how do you best lead? What comes up next with things like ASAE's legislative fly-in? What is happening for leading our associations when we are in such a state of flux? Today, I'm joined by ASAE CEO Michelle Mason and Chief Public Policy Officer Mary Kate Cunningham to discuss how associations can navigate the defining challenges of 2025. From natural disasters like the California wildfires to policy shifts affecting DEI, nonprofit funding, and trade policies, we're going to explore ASAE's strategic approach to crisis management, policy navigation, organizational resilience, heck, anything we can think of to ask them while we have them here. And I can't believe I have them here. It's so nice that they were able to join us. Welcome to the podcast stage. I'm so happy to have you both here. And again, that you were willing to join me at a time of such incredible uncertainty and change. And I feel like uncertainty, we got sick of this word already during the pandemic. And then here we are, right? That's crazy. So welcome. I got to start off with a real softball question, I think, Michelle. It's like the Association of Associations. You know how this goes. People turn to you for examples all the time, and it's hard when so much is in a state of change. So how is ASAE preparing to lead during what many are calling an unprecedented time of uncertainty for nonprofits?
Wonderful. That's a great question to lead with, Kiki. And thank you for having us both. This is the first time Mary Kate and I have done a podcast together. So I'm very excited.
So
I know. I'm very excited. We might have to take this show on the road.
Yes.
Yeah, we are living in unprecedented times. I didn't think that we would be saying that. Again, just like you, it is uncertain times. Yeah.
Uh-oh. Uncertain times meets uncertain technical difficulty. Is this black only for, is the box, her window black only for me? Mary Kate, are you seeing this too on your side? Yes. You're on mute. All right. Well, my friends, those of you who are watching, as you can see, it really is uncertain times, right? We face all kinds of issues that are coming up. This kind of feels representative of the days that we are living in right now.
Exactly.
So Mary Kate, if you don't mind, while Michelle gets connected here again, I might actually jump over to talking with you a little bit about this because, oh, here we go. Here we go. All right, back on track. Okay. All right. So yeah, here we are. We're going to take the show on the road. Let's give it one more shot.
Let's give it. You know what? I say a lot, Kiki, these days. Everything all at once. So I mean,
I know. I know. This is where I reach over, just grab my coffee, and I'm like,
we'll figure it out.
We're leaning into it. Yeah.
We're just leaning into it. We'll figure it out. We are living in the times, very different, very interesting times. But what I hold true to is that associations are very resilient. We've learned that through, the pandemic. I'm optimistic that whatever we're experiencing, the pressure that we're experiencing, a lot of the unknowns, let's just be true in terms of our communication, our transparency. We don't know a lot because it changes every day. Just 5 minutes ago, we learned there was a federal judge that blocked, right, the release of federal employees. So every day, every
Wow.
moment is an important moment. And we just need to understand that we're resilient. We need to stay focused, true to our missions, and be prepared, right, to the best of our ability. So for us at ASAE, we have a responsibility, one, to communicate real time with our members, help them understand what we know when we know it. We're very much engaged with our legal counsel. We have them on speed dial because it's
I
a
bet.
very, yeah, right? Bill Pillsbury, a very
Yeah, right.
contentious time because we want our members to understand that we are that trusted, vetted source. And so when we communicate, we're communicating with fact to the best of our ability. We feel that we are a community, right? So we feel that we have an opportunity, and we'll talk about that through during this podcast, to create or a platform where our members can come together. We had a CEO meeting earlier this week, and they talked about, this feels like a support group. Well, it probably is.
Mhm.
It's a support
Mhm.
group. You have to exchange information, knowledge, real time to the best of the ability, and be very comfortable with saying, I don't know, but seek to find the facts because our members are expecting it. Our focus is on education, it's on sharing content, it's on updating our tools and our resources. And so we do that in collaboration with our members because, again, these are unprecedented times. But we will get through it. And our goal and our hope is that something will come from it that will really advance us. It's this pressure. We can't continue to go through this pressure without some opportunity coming from this. And so we want to be prepared for that when it occurs.
I mean, I think that that's what we have to do, right?
Yeah.
What are our options? There's really no other way. And what I admire is that I think that it, with so many people coming to you and asking for your advice specifically on and looking for every single example of how to do things right, I think that it's just a lot of stress, a lot of pressure, also in the DC area. And this is context for anybody that lives outside of the DC area, but particularly if you're right there in the hotbed of it in the DMV, you have friends, family, you have all kinds of other connections that are dealing with things from in a personal level right now, who are being impacted in other ways. So we've got this emotional, personal component outside of things. And then you've also got what's happening with our organizations, which is incredible. Joanna Pineda, hey, Joanna, she says, we need to support the institutions that are holding back this dictatorial tide. Yes. And then Meredith says, hi, Meredith. Is ASAE doing advocacy on issues under attack right now? Actually, that's a great segue into talking with Mary Kate Cunningham right here, because Mary Kate, when I reached out to both of you, I mean, yes, I was even last year when we were doing, we were doing the press conference at ASAE Annual, and the real concern was no matter who comes into office, what's the future for taxation, for nonprofits? It was under threat, is still under threat, and then now you have all of these other things that you're looking at too. What is happening right now for advocacy and ASAE?
Absolutely. So it's never a dull moment in advocacy. And that's really why you have to build that advocacy muscle as an organization before you need it. And that's why Michelle is so passionate about that. But our biggest two issues right now are on the agenda are this very serious concern for associations and all of nonprofits in tax reform. These proposals coming from the think tank community to tax all organizations at the 21% corporate rate, and just how devastating that would be to associations across the board, their ability to provide services, to educate the workforce, drive the economy, and to fill that gap left by government. I think we need to talk more about the really important role associations play in civil society, that we are filling a gap left. And we're helping to keep government small, frankly. We're setting standards for every industry, all of that. So that's a major focus. And then also our workforce legislation, which is the Freedom to Invest in Tomorrow's Workforce Act. And that would open up 529 savings accounts for certification and licensure. So that's just another really important venue for educating the workforce and helping our members of Congress know the role that we play in society.
Yeah.
And I
Oh,
would add to that we are monitoring the executive order on DEI. And so ASAE issued a statement that we're staying true to our focus on conscious inclusion. But as we know, things change on a daily basis. And so we're
mhm.
monitoring in real time with our attorneys, and we are providing platforms for our members to have conversations about the impact that this is having on their communities and associations.
Absolutely. I'm going to
Yeah.
put that link in the chat for the session that we're having on the 18th. We have more than 1,000 registrants, but we know that this issue is changing so quickly, and it's really the lawyers are the best sources for how organizations can move forward.
Yeah, I also I see this comment that came in. Hey, Lowell Applebaum, we all know you. It seems like chaos is in some way the daily norm. What is the best way for the association community to get the regular update on ASAE's take on the frequent changes and shifts that it's tracking every day?
So, we said thank you, Lowell, for that question. I'm glad you're on this podcast with us, being very active and engaged in ASAE. So, we send member updates. We'll be sending them more frequently now on a monthly basis. And when we have substantive feedback to provide our members, we will send a member alert. To Mary Kay's point, we have a webinar that we are calling Just in Time on February 18th. How do you navigate the executive orders with three of our attorneys? We also are implementing a new communication channel with our members with the ASAE board of directors, and so we're calling them open forums. They'll be facilitated by board of directors, and it will be a limited offering so that we can hear voice of the member that will further direct our strategies in terms of how do we respond. So the first session will be with Sherry Shashay Tufor. She's our secretary treasurer. And what is that date, Mary?
February 19th.
It's February 19th. So we have a webinar on the 18th. We have an open forum on the 19th. The second open forum will be facilitated by Jay Kieran, who's our chair elect. So our board is really out front on some of the issues that are impacting our members and very committed to listening to understand so that we can strategically respond. And so as we again learn new developments, we will create a platform for our members to engage, discuss, and be updated real time.
Mm, I love that. And I love, just examples of how you're leading through showing by example, through showing how more communication, these are the ways, these are the avenues that we're opening up. Associations, listen up. Like this is an example of like how you can think about what you're doing with your own organizations. I know that this federal funding freeze has people, really concerned. And Lowell says, "Great work, great work as always. Thank you, Michelle."
Appreciate you,
Um,
Lil.
we like the love, but I know that people are so concerned. I just came back from talking with some folks at the National Health Council, all these different healthcare organizations coming together, facing a lot of challenges. Michelle, you mentioned the DEI issue, and I know Sherm. It was like the controversial thing last year, dropping the E from DEI.
Mhm.
Looking at the way I feel like you all were ahead of sort of ahead of what was going on in looking at the way that you were framing, conscious inclusion, and really thinking about the way that you could do this so that it wouldn't get attacked as easily, maybe. But I think, everyone's kind of looking at this and saying, are we safe? Where does this end? And, I think that it's really a challenge. This is not a question I gave you guys before, but in the regular conversations I'm having, things like, should I include my pronouns on my Zoom and my signature, and should we include them on the ribbons, and all of this stuff, these steps that have been taken before seem to be like, I'm afraid I'm going to put a target on our organization and on me personally if I continue to do this. And this is not asking you as maybe representative of ASAE. This is more asking you, Michelle, and you, Mary Kate, how are you kind of navigating those things? Have you thought about that? Have you come across that? Or what are some stories that you don't even have to share your own? You can say, have you had these conversations with others?
For us, what we are, again, we're just staying very close to our attorneys, right? I think at this point, all organizations could potentially be a target. We did not expect for the executive order to include associations, the private sector. So that is something that we're monitoring. What we're doing at ASAE, we, as you mentioned, conscious inclusion was something that a strategy that we implemented 4 years ago.
Right.
And it was really about the intentionality behind being inclusive. And we're now putting an emphasis on that strategy, and we're building the tools and the resources to help our members navigate or try to make sense of what's happening in our environment. So that's one focus. More operationally, what are the tools, the resources, the education, the community platforms while you're trying to figure it out, right? We're scrubbing our website. We are, doing all the things that most organizations are doing. And then from a strategy perspective, yes, we are looking at the policies. We're working with our attorneys, and Pillsbury just published a paper on the EO and DE. We made that available to our members, right? And so that's what we're doing real time. We also want to make sure our members have access to others that are in this space and making decisions. So you mentioned Sherm, Johnny Taylor, President and CEO, last year dropped the E from DEI. Well, Johnny will be at our conference in Los Angeles this year, because what we want to understand from Johnny is, why did you do that? When I had a conversation with Johnny, Johnny said, Michelle, it's really not about the words, it's about the work. And that resonated with me. So I would say that we still need to do the work. The words will find themselves, I guess, eventually. We've been here before. Everything's a cycle, but we should not forget the hard work that our passionate members and volunteers and staff have done over the years. And this is a moment in time. So I would say stay the course, and we need to monitor. We need to be smart about what we're doing. But it's more about the work and the lives that we impact and those behind us that we need to think about as we navigate these uncertain times.
I mean, I think about all the way back when I first interviewed, like back when you were in Chicago, and we were talking about DEI and what you were doing there and all of this stuff back then. And I think all of these conversations, and here, it's like we're afraid to even use the same acronym anymore because you might naturally come under attack. I don't know. It's interesting to have, how we're watching these things progress so quickly. Mary Kate, I think I like stepped all over. You were about to say something?
No, I was just gonna say it's such a new Washington, and I think it's not business as usual. And anyone who says they know what's going to happen, we really don't. So we have to be prepared to be close to, and we want to be a forum for our members to share how they're dealing with it, because we don't have all the answers.
Right. Well, and so I mean, actually, I was going to say, great segue to talking about the legislative fly-in, but right before that, originally when I ran into you at the CMA event and we were talking, I was like, oh, I want to talk to you about the wildfires, because here we have ASAE Annual all California's burning. You're supposed to be doing site visits, and this was like these horrific things. And I wanted to find out, how are you making decisions on, all of these people are getting displaced out there. What's ASAE Annual going to look like? So I want to touch on that just really quickly, because I think
Sure.
people at the time, I was getting questions. Do we
Yeah.
think that the area is going to be ready for it when the time happens? I think everyone's moved on, but we can just touch on that and then get back to our other areas of interest.
Yeah, well, we will be in LA August 9th through 12th. We will be in
Yeah.
the LA Live area that has not been significantly impacted. We're excited about the program that's being developed, but most importantly, we are excited about the rebuild that we can participate in. So our story is this: 2 days after the wildfire fires were launched, or we created a campaign through our Meeting Community Needs effort. So we've started raising money through our research foundation, and we will continue to stay connected with the community from now to entering our annual meeting. And so we want to be able to help the community rebuild. We want to be able to acknowledge the first responders. We want to support and celebrate the association community out there. And we were definitely planning to deliver a very strong annual meeting.
I love that. I do think that people will have, for me, I usually feel like I'm so busy. I don't know if I can participate in the feel good, like go and get involved with the community. But in that one, I definitely would want to,
Absolutely.
right? So it's definitely been touching on everyone's heartstrings a lot. Joanna says, one of my clients, a nonprofit that provides services to victims of domestic violence, wonders if they should remove all the inclusive language from their website for fear of being attacked. I didn't have any guidance for them. And, and that's the thing is, Joanna, what conversation I had was someone's funding, an organization, health organization's funding for a grant was being withheld because somewhere in a registration, it's like there are 85 pages of stuff. They asked for gender rather than sex. And the word gender needed to be changed to sex, or else they wouldn't get this funding, which sounds like, what? Right? But yeah, I don't know if there is a good way to give guidance right now, because I don't know if we all know what the new rules are.
Right.
So,
and the rules change every day.
They are changing. Yeah.
They're changing every day.
They really are.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about this legislative fly-in, because certainly you have a plan for how these things are going to go down. It's like, here's our strategy. Mary Kate, how do you have a strategy for like a year like this for your legislative fly-in? But I mean, it's more important than ever, right?
Absolutely. And we are close to capacity for our fly-in, because there's so much energy around it. We're really excited we're actually finding ways to add more spots. So we are, I think one thing that we invested in, knowing this year was going to be filled with advocacy, was economic impact research. So the board hired Oxford Economics, and we have great stats that we're going to be able to bring to the Hill, how associations are contributing to 1 million jobs, 71.4 billion in wages. We talk about the 270,000 plus events that happen around the country and that economic impact, and we have it down to the states as well. So that's something our attendees will be bringing to the Hill to remind Congress about that. And I think it really is about, more important than ever, to tell your story, have the facts as well, but the stories that pull at the heartstrings. And we are collecting those for how your association saves the government money, the important work you do that would be a void if the association didn't exist. Once members of Congress hear those stories, then they tend to be on our side. But there's a ton of education that we have to do. So I think our tax coalition, the Community Impact Coalition, is extremely important as well, too, because we've got to cover a lot of ground and do a lot of education. And we saw what happened when associations were excluded from the Paycheck Protection Program and COVID. There's a lot of examples where we have to continually have a big presence.
And that's a good point, Mary Kate. Most associations should still have some type of infrastructure in place from COVID, when we had to mobilize and activate immediately. So leverage that. What are the lessons learned from that crisis that we can bring into this very different times? We understand that, but it's not like we've not been here before in some capacity. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think what I'm getting from this is I'm feeling some assurance that look, we are all in this together, right?
Yeah.
And we are figuring it out. I am encouraged by the fact that these discussions and conversations that you're leading in different circles, different places, people are continuing to come together and figure out, okay, how are we going to strategize and help each other and you know come together in a way that's going to move things forward. I feel like there were so many details we were able to get into before, and now we're all the way back to, oh wow, we really just need to protect what we are, that we exist, that we're out here doing important things. Just the role of associations in a way that it's like we're under fire. And so I just want to say that, I'm thankful that we have, the good work that you're doing so that we can fight that fight. Meredith says, is anything underway among civil society organizations generally, associations and other NGOs, to stand up against the attacks on rule of law, the executive order overreach, the criminalization of organizational initiatives like DEI, the attacks on human rights? How to oppose authoritarianism as opposed to how to adjust to it? I'm Canadian, so I'm watching the situation very closely, but I realize easy for me to ask a question like that. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot there. So, I mean, do you know of anything that's underway right now in general for associations and NGOs to stand up against some of these things she mentions, like the executive order overreach? I know a lot of people are like, well, are we supposed to do something? Like, how are we supposed to do something with this? And it seems so complicated.
Kiki, it is complicated, right? And, ASAE, we all know, is a nonpartisan organization. So we need
Mhm.
to be mindful of that. ASAE is very focused on the mission it serves and the constituents and associations. So we're very focused, laser focused now, but we can't avoid what's happening around us. We can't ignore
Yeah.
what's happening around us. And so in our responsibility is to protect the association community. And where it makes sense, we will partner with other organizations. So when opportunities emerge. And so we are in conversation and communication with the Council on Foundations, which had analyzed the executive orders and published a really nice piece that we shared with our members. So this is a time to leverage our strengths and work with partners where we can to address the variety of issues that are out there while
Yeah.
monitoring what's coming next. So, to Mary Kay's point, we're focused on tax reform. We're focused on monitoring the executive orders. We're still focused on 529. Workforce is a very important opportunity for us, right?
Yeah.
Lowell is chair of our workforce task force, and so there's just so many opportunities. We're having conversations. Well, with the release of federal workers, is that our opportunity to expose them to associations as a career path? So there's
Right.
just so much that we can do. But again, staying focused on our target audience, staying focused on the mission of ASAE is kind of where we are at the moment, while looking at opportunities to partner with others where it makes sense.
And I have to say, some of these things, it's like they have we can look at them through an interesting lens, because I know, from years and years, first working for associations as staff and then going into like consulting. A common issue is when we would have associations that offer education and like scholarships and like funding and help for all of these different types of sectors and sciences and experiences. And a lot of times you wouldn't even have enough applicants for some of these things, and that was the challenge. And now when we see things like higher education is also one of those things that it seems to be getting a lot of fire. We don't know how things are going to land. We don't know what's going to happen with some of
Yeah.
that. It seems more important than ever that, associations are able to say, hey, we have the ability to fill in that space, to be able to offer value, which we may need. I mean, the people may need more than ever right now.
That's true. We through our the ASAE Research Foundation, we've increased our scholarship program significantly. We just launched a new scholarship supported through the generosity of Linda Patterson, who's our immediate past chair. So that's an area of opportunity for us, particularly as we focus on workforce issues and bringing those into our sector. So yeah, we're definitely here to tell the story on how we can fill the gap, but also be a very important resource.
Yeah. And Joanna, I want to bring up something that she said. One of my clients says we need to stop believing in American exceptionalism, or the idea that certain things would never happen in America. Yeah, I'm afraid to ever utter those words ever. Those unthinkable things have happened, are happening, will happen, and we need to have a battle plan. And then as a heads up, so Adrian was just posting, as a heads up, Michelle, as Michelle spoke up earlier about our need for support groups during these turbulent times, Kiki and I will be around to continue discussion of this interview. Yeah, so there's a little look in your comments over there. If you're on LinkedIn, if you're watching on YouTube, go to LinkedIn, and there is a link. You can join us for a Zoom conversation to have more dialogue. It will not be recorded. It will not be streamed live. You can speak freely. It will be a safe space. And then we can talk about some of the things that we're talking about here in more detail right after this. So another thing that, I wanted to bring up is this idea of collaboration. I'm sure, there are discussions behind the scenes happening on how do we work together, other organizations saying, what should we be doing right now? What could this look like? What role do you see for cross-sector collaboration in strengthening the association community's response?
I mean, there's a significant role. I mean, when we leverage and play to our strengths, we can make some significant things occur. So for us, if we just go, the Community Impact Coalition. We are definitely leveraging the different voices of our members. To Mary Kay's point, we're focusing on the charitable sector at this phase because it's those stories that make a difference. And so we, ASAE, we are, obviously providing the platform. So we need to really be more strategic about partnering and collaborating, because these times are turbulent, and it's a myth to believe that we can be all things to all people. So so that's our strategy here.
Hey, podcasters, association podcasters, you collect stories. Maybe we can help move some value stories, cool things that associations are doing. Joanna, I know you do, that we can send over and, maybe give some fuel for some of these great things that they're trying to do. See, Roger says, is ASAE going to provide information to the association community regarding the issues for the fly-in for those that will not be able to attend in person?
Yes, absolutely. We would love to share the one-pagers for the Hill for people that want to bring that for their own Hill meetings, and we're happy to share all of that so we can have you amplify the voice of the association community.
Yeah, and Kiki, going back to the question about just your offer about stories, we are very intentional in terms of collecting stories from the community, because we just never know which one would be the most impactful one to help us accomplish the goals of our various coalitions. And so I will also offer, it's not just the Community Impact Coalition. Last year, we established the Association Coalition for Artificial Intelligence, because we knew that there would be an AI czar. We knew that there would be an investment in AI. And so that's being led by a board member, Jason Oxman, who is the CEO of a trade association focused on tech companies. And so we're just really, again, it's about preparedness, but we need the stories. We need to understand from our members the impact that all of these issues are having on them to support our strategic direction. So bring them on.
All right. Okay. And Joanna says, I'm full of stories about what associations are
Oh,
doing to
good.
enrich our communities and industries. I know she and I have had discussions about this. So yeah, she
That's great.
probably is already, knowing Joanna, she probably is already putting the list together to send your way. I know
Well,
you
that's
so
great.
well,
We love
Joanna.
it.
All
And
right.
then
And
also we have the summit dinner, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
oh,
So
that's
the Power of
right.
Associations Awards application is going to open up in the next few weeks, and that those stories are extremely helpful with sharing examples of the impact in the community, and we bring all of those stories to Congress. So we would definitely encourage applications there.
Oh, I want to be at the Summit Awards this year for sure. I
September
mean,
25th, we'll see you
yeah.
there.
Okay. Oh, Tahira. Oh, Tahira. She says it's certainly making us consider how we program both information and safe dialogue spaces to IMEX in October. Yes, it is a long time away and much will happen before then. Oh, I know. I just look at the past 2 weeks. I'm afraid, and obviously not even the weekends are safe anymore. We're coming back for like, wait, this happened on Saturday? What? And so it's keeping us on our not even on our toes. It's keeping us on the tippy toes of our toes, the dream of our toes. I don't know, and we're trying to do the best that we can, right? So I guess to that end, I feel like a lot of us are feeling like we were just starting to remember, okay, COVID and the pandemic stuff, like this is in history. We're moving fast forward and all of this stuff. Our nervous systems, though, hadn't quite gotten settled from that. And yet here we are, and we're facing again, all of these different situations beyond crisis management. How can leaders maintain focus on their long-term objectives while navigating current challenges? Like, how are you you do seem very focused, I will say, as we're talking about like all of these different things. It's like, well, is what we know for sure we're going to talk about for this legislative line. Here are the goals that we know that are going to have an impact, even while all of this other stuff is flashing in front of us. But how do you advise leaders to keep their eye on that long-term strategy while there are all of these new things popping up in front of them?
It really goes back to your plan. It
Yeah.
really goes back to your communication with your board, reviewing the plan. So, for example, the ASAE board met in November, and we looked at where we're going as an organization, what's ahead. And we recognized that tax reform would be a major priority for us. But we
Mhm.
also recognize that we'll be moving our office space after being in this building on 1575 I Street since 1980. That's a priority for us. So the board said, it's not business as usual, but let's strengthen the work that we've started. So we have 4 strategic priorities or content areas that we're continuing to advance while we're working on the other areas. One is the future of artificial intelligence. The
Mhm.
second is workforce, conscious inclusion, and strategic leadership. And that work is being pushed down, those priorities, into our councils, our volunteer committees, all of it to facilitate business alignment. We're at a point where, there's a lot of things that are flashing, but we, again, have to stay laser focused so that we can be prepared
Mhm.
to respond to these. What did you say earlier, Kiki? And we need to monitor things on weekends now.
Yeah, I know.
So,
Yeah,
We
you're
talk on
so
weekends.
we
right.
talk on weekends a lot. We
I
talk
know.
on weekends.
You, it's just I see a notification. What?
Yeah.
Wait, this is happening on a Sunday, huh?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And, to that end, you mentioned, the focus on some of the content that is going to be provided. And with Tahira here and thinking about things like, IMEX, and this definitely came up in some of our live Zoom discussions for association chat over the past couple of weeks, as you might imagine. It's how is content going to change for our upcoming meetings when, you know, it wasn't even that long ago when certain keywords, certain words like DEI, it's like that would have been one of the primary things that we wanted to feature. It seems like you can almost get into trouble sometimes if you focus too much on certain areas. And I, I don't know. I know that we're still figuring this out, but it's concerning because I just heard from someone as an example yesterday. I know you all have these stories too, so just bear with me. But the person working in college funding, right, was let go because he attended a DEI conference last year. It was focused on DEI for training, and and they just saw that, and that was enough. Ostensibly, I don't know all of the story, but like that was enough to let him go. The fear that I'm hearing from people about using pronouns, even an event that I went to within the past couple of weeks where it was, should we have the ribbon that has our pronouns on it? These are real concerns that when you get ready to put that ribbon out, that we thought we were moving ahead, we thought we were doing something to make people feel like they belong, are now under consideration again. And I think consultants who I see on here, association leaders who are trying to figure out what should I do. I already was concerned about having inclusive conversations that could avoid some of the divisiveness that we have around our board tables. And now it seems like it's even easier to make a misstep. So I just put that out there as, has this impacted any decisions that are going into, some of the content that you were planning for ASAE Annual or some of the, I don't know, the engagements, activations, and stuff like that would happen for something you might have thought was pretty well planned out.
I mean, it certainly has. We're organizations are being targeted now. Individuals, people are being targeted now. So it really requires us to step back and audit, what we have, what we're producing, and look and work closely with our legal counsel. We can't avoid that because there's a liability associated with it. And so, and we don't know, we've not entered this phase before. So it really requires us to think about in not as much question, but conduct an assessment of where we are and the times we're in today. But everything has a life cycle, right? Everything.
Yeah.
So we don't want to change too much because we might be back in a place where this is supported again and is welcomed and such. So we just need to find that balancing act.
I feel like we were asked to embrace becoming tech wizards and to try to learn as much as we could. Association leaders, everybody, every single person is being asked to learn more about AI and things like that. And now I think an undercurrent of all of our discussion is your attorney, your friend, like become really close with your legal team, because unfortunately, it seems like that we've got a litigious sort of environment around us right now.
For sure.
Yes. Yeah. All right. So with that, I know we were talking 45 minutes and I'm at 2:42. So I want to be cognizant and aware when you're looking ahead and you're thinking, okay, it's only the beginning of February 2025. We got to get through this 2025. What are we going to do? Is there anything that you're doing, Michelle, or you're doing, Mary Kate, to sort of ground yourselves, to think, okay, I've got to pace myself because now the weekends are under fire too. What are you doing to sort of, your strategy for moving forward, as it were?
It's an interesting question because we were in the office late yesterday and we just looked at each other like, go home. Yeah, we just hold each other accountable. We believe that humor is good, right? We hold each other accountable. We are very supportive of everyone on the ASAE team at this moment. Mental wellness is more important than ever before, and we know that we are in interesting times and we need to support our team to deliver the best, to support our members. And to do that, we have to take care of ourselves first. And that's something I've had to learn throughout my career, but I'm now understanding the importance of it. And so it's a huge level of accountability, I would say, in supporting each other through it and setting up the boundaries, put your oxygen mask on first. So
control what you can control.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that those are some great final words. Do you want to make a plug for anything that you're working on right now as a send off to folks? Because I really appreciate you being on here and answering questions and definitely answering questions at a time when things are just moving day by
Yeah.
day, right?
Yeah. Well, Kiki, you know, we appreciate you. We appreciate our partnership with you. We thank you for all the things that you do for the association community, and that is heartfelt. And for us, we would love to see everyone at the ASAE annual meeting, August
Mhm.
9th through 12th. This one is very important, as you've identified, because we need to support LA. We need to show up to demonstrate the power of associations and to help that community build and rebuild. And it'll be beyond LA. So that's very important to us. So we have the webinar on February 18th, Navigating
Mhm.
the Executive Orders. We have the open forum with Sherry Shashay 24 on February 19th. So we're providing a platform for our members to have conversations and to engage. Mary Kay's working on the legislative fly-in and to make that content relevant for today's environment. And she can speak to that and all the other initiatives that she's advancing through her area. We would just say to stay engaged with ASAE, make sure your voice is heard, help us understand when you notice something or you hear something that we've not communicated about, we should be aware of. This is the time for us to work together. So,
Absolutely. Yeah, we're so lucky with the best members that
yeah.
will
Mhm.
keep us updated on everything that's happening. But really, our fly-in March 25th and 26th, the Summit Awards, I think submit your application. We're looking for great stories to tell. And I think associations are really, I think, the answer. They bring together diverse viewpoints and make the world better. So yeah, that's our focus right now.
I love that. I love that. And Tira Switzer, she says,
Yeah.
can we get that link for the webinar on the 18th? I think that was the
Yes.
date. And we
Mhm.
say yes. And then Jen Louie says this kind of turbulence directly affects leaders' mental and physical resilience beyond strategic planning, prioritizing well-being and having a peer group to exchange ideas and solutions isn't just valuable, it's strategic.
Mhm.
Thanks for having this conversation in forum. And then Adrian said, amen. I found that Kiki's association chat is one place where we can get peer
Mhm.
support. Thank you, Adrian. Adrian Seeger, folks. Adrian Seeger is, if you don't know, wonderful author, absolutely phenomenal thought leader in the events industry
Oh, yes.
who
Mhm.
talks about the way that meetings can better be facilitated so that it is inclusive in a way
Yeah.
that leads to better learning. So he is absolutely remarkable. I can't say enough good things. And he's a prolific writer. So you can find a
Oh,
lot of his
nice.
stuff. He's been writing for years and he writes daily. So you can find a lot of his content online. Mary Kate, Michelle, thank you so much for coming
Thank you.
on and offering so much of your wisdom and your experience and being vulnerable and saying, hey, here's what we know and here's what we don't know, and we're just doing the best we can. I appreciate
Yes.
that. I think we all do.
Well, we appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. All right. All right, everyone. What do you think? How did that go? What was your experience? I hope you enjoyed that. I'm very thankful to the very busy Michelle and Mary Kate. I reached out to both of them. I thought it would be really interesting to have them both on the same episode because, you know, I talk with each of them and their perspectives, their experiences, what they're working on is so critical right now. I think for associations that I think it's just really interesting to hear what they have to say and what they're talking about. So, oh yes, and Peggy Lamberton over here says Adrian Seeger is a superhero. Yeah. So if you have some homework, go sign up for the Summit Awards. Go sign up to get involved in the legislative fly-in. Although understand that everybody's going to rush to go do that. Definitely bring your stories together and give them your powerful stories and participate. Go and collaborate and do that. Also go to association chat and engage and participate in our conversation after this that we're going to have because that'll be good too. And go buy Adrian Seeger's books because I'm a big fan. He does some amazing things. Michelle Mason and Mary Kate Cunningham, thank you so much for your invaluable insights on navigating the complex challenges associations face in 2025. Your perspectives on crisis management, policy navigation, and organizational resilience are truly appreciated. And to all of you listeners out there, thank you for joining us in this conversation. Remember, the strength of our associations lies in the power of community. It's the openness of our dialogue that allows us to move ahead. So stay connected, stay engaged. Let's keep these important discussions going. And until next time, everyone, this is Kiki L'Italian signing off and reminding you to keep asking questions to learn every day. As Joseph Campbell once said, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. Have a great rest of the week, everyone.